Now on Bloomberg Intelligence, Munis in Focus.
All right, this focus on Munis is brought to you by BAM Mutual. Put America's strength to work in your portfolio with BAM insured municipal bonds. Protect your investments with an added layer of security and guaranteed income. Invest with strength. Build a stronger tomorrow with BAM Mutual. It is Friday. That means we talk muni bonds, and today we do it with Tom Kozlik, Head of Public Policy and Municipal Strategy at Hilltop Securities. He's down there in the Big D. He's joining us from via Zoom there. Hey, Tom, I know one of the big issues for, the bond market has been the tremendous issuance activity we've seen. I mean, 2024 was a record year for municipal bond issuance. Same for 25. What's the outlook for 2026?
Yeah, the outlook for 26 is that there's likely to be another very strong year of overall issuance. But let me add to that, because I think that supply and demand dynamic is also one of the things that's really differentiated what's been happening in municipals just in the month of January so far. Right, I'm going to add to that record amount of issuance that you were talking about. What we've seen so far in January is we've seen $7 billion of investor money flow into municipal mutual funds. That is a lot of money. And one of the things that's happened in January, in contrast to the record supply, is that there hasn't been quite as much supply in January to satisfy all of that demand. So we're expecting that demand is going to continue to be strong, and we think that supply is going to start to come back and be more plentiful. But this is one of the reasons of why it is that the beginning of this month, yields started to drop below the range that we've seen. We were watching and seeing in like October, November, December.
And you've said that absolute muni yields remain generationally attractive, even with mixed relative value. How should investors think about that trade-off?
Yeah, so one of the things that I've been talking about for some time now is the fact that there have been a lot of investors have been trying to pick their spots, right? Pick their spots because of relative value being strong or weak, and or, one of the things that I've been tracking with investors for several years now is they were a little confused in 22, 23, 24 about exactly what the path of the Fed was going to be. What I've been talking to investors about going back to the summer of last year is don't try to time the market, right? Even over the last kind of month or so, we've seen yields fall by 10 or 15 basis points. One of the things that I'm talking to investors about is taking advantage of these generationally attractive yields that we're seeing. The Fed is likely going to be, we don't know exactly when, but the Fed is likely going to continue their path lower, right? So I'm talking to investors about taking advantage of those generationally attractive yields. And as you can see by the extraordinary flows that we've seen in January, investors are starting to do that.
How's the credit quality out there, Tom? I don't recall seeing a lot of news about blowups in the municipal bond market. How is the credit quality?
So a few years ago, I was describing credit. I was describing this golden age of public finance, but that was mostly connected to the substantial amount of money that we saw come out of Washington. That has mostly been exhausted. That being said, most general funds for state and local governments are still pretty healthy. One of the things that I'm talking to investors about now is that there's a kind of a post-golden age realignment. There are entities in every sector who are trying to balance their ongoing spending with their ongoing revenue, and that's going to be an ongoing process. But overall, credit's still pretty strong in the municipal sector.
Tom, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate getting a few minutes of your time. Tom Kozlik, Head of Public Policy and Municipal Strategy at Hilltop Securities down there in Dallas.
Put America's strength to work in your portfolio with BAM insured municipal bonds. Protect your investments with an added layer of security and guaranteed income. Invest with strength. Build a stronger tomorrow with BAM Mutual.